For our dead bug progressions, what we're going to start with is this dead bug position. There's a few things we need to understand. First is in this position, we need to get to where our low back is relatively or close to being flat on the floor. One thing we can do to help understand what this is I want you to create a giant arch, a giant space in between your low back and the floor. And it might take you some time to figure out exactly what you need to do that, but take the time to figure that out. And then I want you to do the exact opposite, where I want you to orient your pelvis and low back so that the space between your low back and the floor is 0 and your low back is completely flat on the ground. From here, what I want you to do is come out of that just slightly, or even leave your low back flat on the floor, but we don't have to be jamming that low back into the ground. The key here is with our low back either flat or just slightly out of that position is that we have to maintain it and we can't let it move through the motions here. And that's going to be our feedback to know if we're doing the drill well and that we're actually using our core to maintain this position. That's the whole goal. So we have our position. We can raise our legs off the ground after that. First progression is just raising our foot one at a time towards the opposite upper wall. And we can alternate feet there. Again, it gets hardest when the foot is furthest away from you. And again, we're just making sure that our low back is not changing its orientation. So we can either have it flat on the floor. I don't want you jamming it into the floor, but if you have it flat on the floor, we can feel when we lose that position, our low back, we won't feel the floor anymore. Okay? After that progression, if that's a little too easy, we're doing 10 each leg. What I want you to do from there is just pushing the foot straight out ahead and maybe even just an inch or two off the floor. A bad rep here would be this, where I let my foot go out and my low back starts to extend and you see all the space open up through here as opposed to that position there. Okay, so once we figure that out, and that might take some time where we build up some strength to maintain that pelvic and core orientation. The next step from there is just having our arms straight up overhead, moving with the opposite leg. This motion here really wants to make us pull our ribs up. And as we pull our ribs up, that again changes that orientation of that low back. So we have to use the core not only to control what's happening down here, but now our rib cage as well. And then the last thing that we can do is just get some weight involved. Start light and work your way up. But again, once we're able to do that without changing our rib or pelvis orientation, is we can now alternate leg with a weight overhead.